Hi everyone, it's Mariana and I'm here today to talk about The Revenant, the newest film from Alejandro González Iñárritu, who also directed Birdman, which was one of my favorite films of 2014. Will The Revenant be one of my favorite films of 2015? You're going to find out tomorrow when I finally do my top 10 movies of 2015. The Revenant is the movie that has been delaying me from making that list. It's one of those films that comes out at the end of December in limited release and then in wider release in January, and I did not want to make my list before I saw The Revenant. Was it worth the wait? You bet it was. This film is loosely based on a true story of Hugh Glass, who was left for dead in the wilderness by his hunting team in the 1800s, and it is very much a survival film. I know a lot of people will describe it as a revenge film, but even though revenge plays a big role in The Revenant, and it's kind of the main motivator for the main character, a lot of the film has to do with survival, man versus nature, men versus other men, and all of that good stuff. Now, let's get this out of the way. The question that I see almost everyone asking is, will Leonardo DiCaprio finally get an Oscar for his performance in The Revenant? And I think that he absolutely deserves one. Whether or not he'll get one, you can never guess what the Academy is thinking, but he 100% deserves to get an Oscar for this because his performance is great. It is a transformative performance, and in my opinion, it is above and beyond anything that he has done before, so he definitely should get an Oscar for his role in The Revenant. Also, Tom Hardy is fantastic in this movie. He is really, really good. He plays a huge, terrible dick in this film, but he does it so well. And I think he definitely deserves at least a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, if not the win. Domhnall Gleeson definitely holds his own in this movie. Even though he doesn't have a huge role, I still very much enjoyed his character and his performance. And speaking of holding their own, Will Poulter, the kid with crazy eyebrows from The Maze Runner, if you've seen that, he does a really good job as well. The cast in The Revenant is solid. Of course, the look of the film is beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous. You can tell that from the trailer, but the entire movie is just masterfully done. No matter how brutal the scene is, it is done so well. Apparently, it was shot entirely with natural lighting, which sounds like insane stressful production, but it's definitely worth it because you can feel the location so well. There was a point in this movie where I realized that I was sitting at the movie theater covering myself with my jacket, not because it was actually cold, but because the movie was making me feel cold. And then I was like, maybe I'm crazy, but I looked around and I swear the people around me were doing the same thing. Everybody was using the jacket as their blanket, and it's not like the theater was extra cold or anything. So that tells you how well this movie creates its atmosphere, and a lot of it has to do with the look. The film itself is incredibly intense, and I was at the edge of my seat pretty much the entire time. The bear scene, I'm sure you've heard of it, is fucking crazy, and also the last scene of the movie is pretty crazy as well. But between that, there's a lot of general intensity going on. There are some scenes where the camera just keeps panning from one side to the other and you see all this mayhem unfold. I loved it. It's so effective and so well done. Also, there are some quieter moments in the film that have to do with dream sequences. There's a lot of symbolism going on, and I know some people thought that it might have been a little bit pretentious and didn't connect to all of the dream sequences well, but I personally really liked that part as well because it's very much open to interpretation and the symbolism is done in a very beautiful way. So for me, it definitely worked, but I can see how that may not work for everybody. But I'm a big fan. The main complaint that I've heard about The Revenant is something that I would like to address for a second. I've heard some people say that it is too brutal and too dark and it's 2.5 hours long and it's just depressing and it's a downer, it's too much. And I would just like to point out that this is about a guy who was left for dead in the middle of winter in this wilderness. And he's not doing so hot, and he has to survive because he's driven by his desire for revenge. And none of that sounds like it would be a joyride if that were to happen in real life. So I feel like even though this movie is dark and brutal, it's because that's how that would go down. Now, I do have to agree that at the 2.5 hour runtime, there are some things that start feeling a bit repetitive, and my biggest kind of problem with this movie, which is small, that's a nitpick really, is that sometimes I was looking at what was happening and I was thinking, a human body that's trying to recover from something brutal wouldn't be able to do that right now. Like, how did that physically happen? It didn't take away from the movie too much, but there were some moments where I was thinking, no freaking way. You can see one of those in the trailer. I don't really want to ruin it if you haven't seen the trailer, but it has to do with like the horse and the tree. And just that, I had a really hard time suspending my disbelief for that scene. Overall though, I loved The Revenant, and it is definitely one of my favorite movies of 2015. It is the kind of film that I like to refer to as an experience, and it is definitely something you want to see on the big screen. Please don't miss it in the theaters. It is so worth it. It may not be the most fun thing to watch because it's 2.5 hours of brutal shit, but it is definitely a masterfully done film and an achievement in filmmaking. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is so, so good, and surprisingly, I actually want to see it again, which is crazy because of how brutal this movie is. That's it for my review of The Revenant. I'm going to stop gushing about this movie for now because I could sit here for a pretty long time talking to you about The Revenant, so I'm just going to stop myself here. Please let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. If you've seen it already, I would love to talk to you about it. And if you haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor and go see The Revenant at the theater and then come back and let me know what you thought. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow with my top 10 movies of 2015. Bye.